Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good night, whenever you're watching this. We're going to do a head treatment today. We're going to do a foot treatment, and then we're going to do like be on the roller on our hips and stuff. So we're going to kind of be the ends, the midlines, the end ranges, and that kind of thing today. One of the interesting things that is interesting about our health is our oxygen ability to uptake oxygen, and how oxygen is then also coming out of us. A very nice thing to have is an oximeter. And actually, in this last year, it was probably one of the most incredible things to be able to own. And it literally is, I think, $15. So it's not something that, again, it's not one of those tools that is, oh, this cost me $1,000 and I'll use it once. It cost me $15 and I played with it probably for a month, just kind of playing with it, walking around the house with my finger on with it on my finger and that kind of thing, trying each one of my fingers. But your oxygen in your body should be somewhere between 98% and 100% about. When it starts getting lower than 97, 96, you're actually becoming hypoxic. You're becoming low oxygen. If your body has not actually got oxygen in it, your cells are kind of dying. It turns out we need large amount of oxygen. We exhale only about 20%, or we inhale only about 20% oxygen in the air and that kind of stuff, and we exhale less. But our body needs to know that it's moving oxygen at the percentage that it needs. And so regardless of your health situation, if you're dealing with an immediate health issue, or if you're dealing with just generalized health, your oxygen levels can go up and down throughout the day. It can be dependent on your activity level. It can be dependent on your health level. But it's one of those kind of things that people don't really think about, because they think about pulse and they think about blood pressure and they think about those types of things. But 100%, if you go to a hospital, they slap one of these things on your hand. You have this on your hand all the time, because if your pulse ox goes too low, you're slowly shutting down. You're not regenerating. Oxygen actually regenerates. This is fake, but it brings this stuff to life, kind of a thing. So we exhale carbon dioxide. This exhales oxygen. And so we exhale carbon dioxide. That exhales oxygen. We have to breathe this in. So the best way to breathe this in is to be outside. And so it's very hard to breathe this in on a big basis inside, but you also just can work on your breathing. A couple of breathing techniques which we will do today are very effective to taking up more oxygen and re-oxygenating the system. One is what's called letting the breath come in, and another one is it's actually almost over breathing. So you're breathing in as deep as you can, exhaling and inhale and exhale for as big of breaths as you can. Someone figured out ideally it's 30 breaths or whatever, and most people can't get there because they just kind of start feeling it's just too difficult. But deep breathing for about 30 breaths can really make a difference. You can even do a little test. I'll give you one of these today, and you guys can check it and that kind of stuff on it as well. And but again, it's just a really simple. Some phones have an oximeter on them. You put your finger on the back of the phone, and or they come with some of the health apps, and they can just check your pulse ox. So or pulse and oxygen. So this is a pulse oximeter. So essentially, you just put it on your finger. Basically, it's like that. There's not a big hard technique to it. You don't have to get it right. Ideally, you don't move that much when you have it on, but I mean, as long as you're not, I guess, doing jumping jacks or throwing kettlebells while you're doing it exactly on that hand, it should come up. Let's see if I can actually get a reading. And my pulse ox is 99 right now. So I'm in a good range. We're all happy right now. My heart rate's a little high, but yeah, but my pulse ox is good right now. So I've had this before. Also, again, I've had this for, I don't know, a couple of years, and it's still at 100% battery. And so, not that I mean, you don't use it. It's not like you're using it 24/7. You put it on, and then you take it off, and then you hit the button, and it goes off, and then you're out. So it's not even something that I always want to tell people, like, buy stuff, but not everything is super expensive, but some things are just, things have a cost to them. So, again, this isn't one of the things that has the highest cost. If you guys want to try it. Oh, sorry, and it's broken now. And so, yeah.
I should have moved.
Yeah. It's just not on right now. So anyway, so we're going to start with just a little bit of we'll start with a basic lymph release. We're going to do a specific head and neck. Yesterday I was just kind of a story from me. Regular day and all that kind of stuff. Is it low?
94.
Okay, it's a little low. And then, last night, I just kind of, throughout the day, started getting more of a headache. And then, and I was driving home I met my sister in Burbank for dinner, and driving home, I was just like, I gotta stop. This is driving me crazy. It was just so heavy on my head. And it wasn't in any one spot. It wasn't in my eyes or my back of my head. It was just kind of my whole head just felt like my whole head had a headache. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they're behind your eye or behind your head or in the front or like that. It was like someone put it's like I was wearing a hat all day long, and it was like my whole head felt heavy.
I'm 94.
You're 94? I guess I'm the winner.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, in my car on the drive home, I did a lymph reset for my head. So, I mean, I'm just driving, so, across the collarbones, neck, jaw, ear, head, and I basically went to my temples, just basic up here, because taking my glasses off wasn't going to be very effective while I was driving, and so, I just did what I could, kind of thing, and that's a big thing. Do what you can, if you can't do it all, do some of it, and do as much as you can while you do some of it, kind of a thing. Instead of like, I can't do it all, so I won't do any. That's a very typical human response. It's like, I can't win $1 million, I can't be a millionaire, so I just won't work. It's like, well, that's not practical, kind of a thing. So, because I know all of you, well, I don't know all of you aren't millionaires, you guys are all those secret millionaires out there for all I know. But, damn it, I should raise my prices then. And then, but anyway, I did my whole lymph reset, headache gone. I was going to pull over and get Advil. I was like, this headache wasn't a fun headache. It was just so compressive. And this is from Burbank to, by the time I got to, I don't know if you know those highways and that kind of stuff necessarily, but driving from Burbank, getting onto, just as we were getting onto the 118, just kind of past the 5, headache gone. And so it didn't take that long to do it. And so, my point on that, is do what you can do as much as you can do it. Don't think that external will help. On top of that, I would have had to get out of the car. I would have had to go into the store, whatever. I would have had to take the Advil. I would have had to find water. I would probably buy a bag of Cheetos while I was in there too. No, I'm just kidding. But I would have had to get back in my car. I would have had to take the Advil. That would have taken another half an hour to go into effect. I would have been driving home. I would have gone home. I probably would have just gone to sleep when I got home anyway, kind of a thing. And then it's like, but boom, did this whole thing real simple. Simple, guys. It's simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. And I mean easy by you have to do it. It doesn't just happen to you. It doesn't just happen because you want it. It doesn't just happen because you've heard about it or remembered it. You actually have to do it to you. And so, but no more headache. Went home, I did, it was late, so I just went to bed, but it wasn't like I went to bed like with a headache. And it felt good. Turns out, it feels good to feel good. Pain is a request for change. And allow yourself to believe that you have skills and abilities, and be proud that you know this. You are really of the few who know this type of information. And it's not because it's not because I'm some special imparter of information. It's just that you guys chose to take care of yourselves. You guys stepped forward and go, you know what, I want something different. I want to listen to my body a little differently. So thank you for doing something that is encouraging to your own self. Thank you. And anyway, so let's get going. I'm just put my ball on the ground. Start with the left collarbone. Actually, go ahead and do. Sorry. Yes, get into it, Susie. Go ahead and do a baseline move real quick. Whatever you'd like to do as a baseline. Try to find where your body's moving best today, or maybe where your body's a little glitchy. It's okay that not everything works 100% in your imagination as it should, but it turns out you start out good, okay? You aren't just a bowl of porridge that is, you know, it's not good, it's best. It's not always that. Very often we are a combination of issues and things that are happening to us for different types of reasons, and it's okay that every day doesn't feel the exact same. If you did feel the exact same every day, I think you would probably be bored of that as well, and that becomes depressive because that feels like nothing's ever going to change, whether it's good or bad. You know, you want highs and lows. If you never had any low, you wouldn't appreciate the highs as good. So anyway, make sure you have that baseline is checked, and let's start with that left collarbone. Remember, you want to start so your body wants to drain to an area. So we're going to start on top, just above the collarbone. And I look away because I like a little stretch on my skin. On top of that, it feels like if I look down into it, I'm not getting much results. And then go a little firmer. And then go underneath the collarbone. So the collarbone is rolled. So you can actually get up underneath it as well. And that's where a lot of the gunk is. So we start out soft on top and we get underneath that collarbone. And it gets kind of gunky in there sometimes. So, and if you don't really understand what I mean by gunky, it's just kind of hard or tissue or messy or thick feeling. And our body shouldn't have any real pain on it all the time. And then we're going to pat 5 times. And then you're going to pull down across the collarbone. Good. And then the right side. Nice and light up at the top first. Again, you always want to go in feather light to begin with, and then get a little firmer, a little faster. If you start in too firm, too fast, it's not that it won't work. It's just that your body's going to be ready for it, and your body's going to start kind of gripping and tightening up before you even allow it to do what it's going to do. And you're already living all tight. So there's no reason to kind of get tighter. Again, if you went to a masseuse a little firmer underneath, if you went to a masseuse and they just started in with deep tissue, you'd be like, WT, you know, and you would not like that. I mean, most people, some people like love that someone's heel and foot and elbow is in their softest parts. I don't particularly like that. I mean, I would rather someone gives me something and I receive it than someone punch me in the face and then I just have to deal with it. Pat 5 times, and then you're pulling across 3 times. 2, 3. We're going to go up the neck. So we're going up just underneath the ear and just kind of brush down. I'm just going to use my other hand. Again, this is where you can also use the toothbrush. The toothbrush is even a lighter entry. So if you're having a lot of problem with lymph release, start with the head always, because then it's just draining down here. You're not disrupting the entire apple cart. And so sometimes we do lymph work and we get a headache, we get nauseous, or we get kind of agitated. That might be too much, too soon, too fast in movement. Go a little bit firmer, a little faster. What I want you to do is start behind your ear, kind of go up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side. You may notice that I'm moving the skin. I'm not just up and down, side to side. You want to try to move the skin because we're dealing with subcutaneous tissue. And we're not going global on the body. And then pat 5 times. I just use my 4 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then pull down towards that left collarbone. On the right side, up nice and light. And certain spots, when you get to them, you're going to start noticing draining. You're going to start noticing release. You're going to start noticing an effect to what your treatment is. And that could just feel you start breathing differently. You kind of have to swallow more. You just feel a lightening in the head. Not lightening, but a lightening in the head. Then go up and down, side to side, up and down, side, side, up and down, side, side. Remember, the tissue is very 3-dimensional. So you can pinch the tissue, you can stretch the tissue, you can go diagonal, you can make circles. The tissue doesn't just move in one direction. Pat 5 times. And then pull down and across. And you're going down the sternocleidomastoid muscle. This is the very long channel that goes down. It is a drainage pathway for all of your lymph, your nerve, your blood flow. Then we're going to go underneath the jaw. We're going to do both sides. Kind of underneath the jaw, nice and light. And then back. Here's the typical place that lymph will show up. Like that's where the doctor feels typically. It's a very external place where lymph will be, and it's easy to get to. The other one is like the ears too. And then you're going to tap 5 times. And then pull down, like pull down the front and the inside of the neck. And then if you have face lotion, you can rub face lotion, and then give yourself a little facial thing. All right, I'm just going to take my glasses off just to make it simpler since I'm not driving. So we're going to do kind of the back of the ear. I'm going to the left side, nice and light, kind of like where you would put, you know, your glasses, an earpiece or something like that. And you can feel that bone. So when we go a little bit deeper, you may notice that that's tender back there. And if you're being really light for yourself, go in a little deeper. See if you can notice some stuff. You're not jamming your fingers through the surface of your skull, but you're just kind of going in a little bit deeper. Good. And then tap 5 times. And then pull down and your neck. Around, down to your neck. Around, down to your neck. And then the other side. Nice and light. So headaches, sinus, just generalized non-specific pain, you know, if you have acid reflux, all of this area can be affected by it. Good. Tap up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side. A backup of lymph can make you lose hearing a little bit because it pushes up, and so that force of fluid is pushed up into the body, and this is the end point. There's no further up, I promise you. Even if you take it, shave it up, it's just going to press right there. And it's not in your brain in the same way. It's not like you have, hydrocephalus where you've got fluid on the brain. You've just got fluid underneath the skin, just enough to press out. And then tap 5 times, and then pull down. I mean, we've all had some sort of skin thing, like, just a tiny little skin blip of some sort, and that hurts. And that's only one tiny little layer of skin. So think of fluid, and then we're going to go right here. So imagine that you plugged your ears, but it was on the outside. So not on the little hole, on the outside where that ear flap is. That's a very technical term. Ear flap. You're going to go right there, and we're going to do both sides at the same time. Just right there, nice and light. And then I'm going to go kind of clockwise, counterclockwise circles. And I'm doing both sides just for expediency right now. And then tap 5 times. Always be gentle. And then you can go up and around, or you can go down and around. Now, we're going to go here. So underneath the eyes, from the very corner of the eye, all the way across and above, and then into that hole is where we're going. So nice and light. And again, we're doing both sides at the same time. If you really want to figure out which side is really the funky side, definitely do each side individually because you'll have more sense for that. And then you're going to pinch. So kind of just pinch right along the, not collarbone, the cheekbone, all the way up just underneath. And you may even feel some tenderness right underneath your eye. It's just a big hole for your sinuses. Sorry, rubbing my eyes. Good. And then you're going to tap 5 times. I'm tapping with just 3 fingers. And then I'm going to actually push down just as high as I can. Don't get too aggressive, but just underneath your eye. And I'm going to pull down and towards my ear hole. So pull and towards my ear, and pull and towards my ear. Good. And then I'm going to go up one more. So I got one more spot. So from my eyebrows all the way to kind of my temples. Good. Pinch across your eyebrows, all the way out towards your temples. And then tap 5 times. And then pull Good. So take all 4 of your fingers on both sides. You've got a scalp line, and you're going to just place as close as you can right down the center. Kind of push your fingernails kind of into it gently, into that scalp, and just kind of go back and forth. That may be tender in there. So your fingers are right up against each other. So right here, you can do one hand if you want, if you got bigger fingers or smaller space up there, and just go up and down that center line, kind of from that soft spot, you know, where the baby gets, soft spot all the way back to the soft spot. Right down that center. That is actually a liver line. Most people's livers, I'm surprised we're not exploding about how much work our liver has done. Tap 5 times. And then I know your hair is going to get messed up and just kind of roll back like you're just kind of, you know, like combing your hair kind of a thing. I know you didn't come to class thinking that you're going to have to comb your hair. And then one more spot, back behind here, underneath, this is the occipital bone back here. And then again, so on the base line of the skull, right where from ear to ear. And again, you could do these things, ooh, that's tingly, separately. All of these things could be done separately. I'm doing them together just for a little bit more expedience of time. And then a little bit firmer right underneath here, kind of right there. That's very tender typically. So the body is going to bring pain usually to the first joint that it finds. And so very typically, this is a very typical tender spot right here. And you can even thump it a little bit, tap it 5 times. And that can be tender and it can make your head feel like it's like a watermelon. And then pull down and across, pull down and across. Good. Real quick, axillary, pat 5 times, pull up, axillary, pat 5 times, and then belly. So 30% of the lymph is in the neck, about 30% of the lymph is in the belly, and then the rest is all the way through. So you've got a lot of lymph in here. You know why? Because your body wants to protect your brain and your heart and your return of blood flow. And it's so important to keep those areas clear. Pat 5 times, and then inner thigh. Pat 5 times, and then pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Bounce. And pause. Good. Go ahead and get your ball. We're going to do a nice quick foot treatment. Good. Go ahead and just stand nice and parallel. Bring your shoulders back. Bring your head over your heels. Give yourself some permission to go inside. And it's not like because your body and your brain work separately. It's just we're so attuned to the outside of our body and we're so not attuned to the inside. It's just to start creating that connection to the inside of the body. The body actually it's a lot more going on the inside than the outside, and we tend to separate ourselves from the things that we don't want to feel, we're tired of feeling, we're upset with. So let's get in a better communication with the inside of the body. It's okay that you love your own body. It's okay that it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to be. Just allow things to be what they are and just have that communication back and forth. Good. Go ahead and lift up all 10 toes. Notice that feeling of space, return, where your body weight goes. If it stays forefoot to the back of the foot, what your body's trying to do to figure out your space, and then drop all 10 toes. And just allow yourself to go where the body just goes. Don't try to resist. That's kind of the whooshing. It's going to happen or not. Go ahead and open your eyes. Hopefully your body was, it doesn't have to be terribly stable, but hopefully it's feeling good with this kind of first movement. Put the ball underneath the first foot. Again, whether you do right or left, it doesn't matter to me. The way, in a sense, you should pick it is pick a different one each time. Or pick the one that's giving you the most information. Or Rochambeau for it every time. But don't always pick the same foot, because you're going to probably do more on the one foot than you are on the other, just because that's just the way it goes. Go ahead and pause. Take your arms up. Take your arms down. Roll your shoulders and roll yourself back up. Take your left foot back. Move the ball to position point 5. Push in and begin to move that ball back and forth. Remember, the body loves consistency. One time, I realized we're kind of designed Neanderthalic, and take that in a good way. I know that's been going out there, but we want consistency, we want ease, we want regularity. But at the same time, we need to be ready for the fight here and there. We can't just expect that it's all just going to go always the same way. But we move slowly. People who had to work for a living back in the day, they probably didn't move super fast everywhere, because they had to conserve energy. And so pause, bring that ball back to position point 5, give it a nice tight shear. But we move from thing to thing super fast, and then we don't notice when things change. I'm not saying that people like on the Pioneer knew and anything was changing. All I'm saying is that they moved slower, they were more intentional, because they had to conserve energy. We don't. We just kind of keep going. We've got good energy resources. The problem is we exploit them and we overuse them, and then so our nerves are more fried. They had other problems. Pause. And then big toe knuckle to heel. Years ago, there was this kind of documentary kind of thing, an experiment that was done, one of the first live experiment kind of shows, where these 5 families went out into the plains out in Montana, and they gave them all different styles and types of houses, some already done, some of them had money, and they did a 6-month-long prairie experience to see how they could actually function on the prairie. It's pretty interesting. It's probably out there still. And then friction. But it kind of showed you how much work they actually were really doing, and how much we don't use our hands, and we don't use our feet, and we don't use certain things, because the things that broke down on them were like their hands and their feet from walking and having to manipulate dough and churn butter. I mean, I know that sounds kind of goofy. They signed up for it. I get it. Bring your feet parallel to each other. All the manual labor that they did. Just notice what's going on. Notice if that body's starting to feel more balanced, more even. Remember, one side of your body can feel very different from the other side. Go ahead and open your eyes. Bring the ball to position point 1. And again, we start at position point 1. It's directly related into the diaphragm. Our diaphragm is the key connector between the top half and the bottom half of the body. And it's also a key connector into the organs. So you want to start in a place where the body's going to get information, but give the body a great sense of safety as well, because it's safer in the center than off to the one side. Good. And then take your arms up, take your arms down, roll, and roll yourself back up. Right foot steps back, or other foot, move the ball to position point 5 and begin to glide. We're only going to do 1 or 2 passes just for the situation of time. Once I start on these classes, I always think I should have 2 hours on each one of these things. But I lose you and I have to provide snacks. Go ahead and pause, back to position point 5. Good. And then pause. Big toe knuckle to heel. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then friction. Good. And then pause. Bring those feet back to parallel. Bring your shoulders up, back, and around. Nice deep breath. Good. Lift up all 10 toes. Notice that the body it's not as challenged, or doesn't have to find the change as quickly or as much. Exhale and drop all 10 toes. Just notice what's going on. Good. Go ahead and open your eyes. Better? Same? Different?
A little better.
Good. Go ahead and check your baselines. Better, I would say.
Much better.
Good. So, if you can't, just a great solution. We didn't do any hamstring stretching. I love this about when you kind of get better and all of a sudden you can touch the ground, and 2 seconds ago you couldn't. People work for years to touch the ground in forward folding, and we did 0 plus 0 hamstring stretching. So people are like, well, yeah, we did. We moved the leg. No, quite literally, you did not stretch your hamstring while we did this. So anyway, grab your roller. Come on down to the ground. We're going to start at your calves. So your calves are the pump of the lower body. So part of the reason why the calves can get so sore and tired is because they're directly responsible for pumping the blood back up. If you're having tight, sore, tired legs, it probably has to do with your feet and or your calves. So get in on it. So you want to make sure in this situation, you want the majority of your leg, of course, above the head, on the head side of the roller, but you want your calves on the angle down. Okay? So you're not in the middle of the calf because you won't be able to go anywhere, and you're not all the way at the ankle because you won't be able to go anywhere. So you want to be at the juncture of the majority of the musculature, which is kind of at the base of the quadriceps. This is, the gastrocnemius. You've got a big muscle, gastrocnemius, a smaller muscle that inlays underneath it called the soleus, and you've got several other extensors and flexors underneath there. And so you want to try to get into that kind of, that space, kind of like the bottom of your foot, you're getting into the center space. So like, the center square and the center square in, what's that game?
Hollywood Square.
Hollywood Square is the best place to be. So think of the center square. Paul Lynde was always there, right?
Yeah.
Good. Just back and forth, just a nice glide. So remember, gliding is you moving the roller. Shearing is you moving on top of the roller not moving. You are moving. You're moving. So a gliding movement is always you moving the roller. A shearing movement is a cross-frictional movement. Check your pulse ox again. Good. Back and forth. And then pause. And you're going to knead. So we're doing a shear motion here.
97.
There we go.
Ooh.
Good. Pause. And then roll back and forth. And you may find some barriers in there. So barriers are a combination of things potentially. Barriers they can be just what you would consider tight muscles. They can be dehydrated tissue. They can be fascial adhesions underneath and within the structure of the tissue. And so when you find them, you're going to butt up against them, push up against them. Marina, how'd it go?
93.
Oh, well, science. And then, so pause. So I want you to butt up against a barrier, and then pause, and then just roll one. So you just get the fine tune of one leg at a time. So this is almost impossible to do on the wall, right? You couldn't do this on the wall, all right? So if your legs were up, but the roller would fall. So the only other way you can do this work is on the ground, sitting on the roller. So not everything can be done on the wall. Then do the other leg, butt up against a barrier, and roll the ankle. So it's a very kind and gentle way of kind of releasing the tissue at the lower half of the body. And so instead of, grinding or jamming up a lacrosse ball into your ankles. Pause. And then one more time of gliding. You can turn your knees out. You can do, in a sense, whatever, I'll say, in these situations, whatever feels good. In some situations, do not use that excuse of I do whatever feels good to me, because that is just narcissism. Okay, but when you're dealing with your own body, you can be as narcissistic as you like. Go ahead and pause. Take the roller up. So again, pretty much middle of the calf. If you bend your knee, your roller will start the middle of the thigh, or stop in the middle of the thigh. It's very difficult to just roll the roller and get it up to your butt, unless you've got great cat-like reflexes. Lean back a little bit further if you can, and then just begin to move the thighs out and in. Now, this is what I see a lot of times, and I don't know if you're trying to start a fire, or if you're just doing that adductor thing that was like in the 80s, with your dolphin shorts on in the gym, and you were just going for it. But you're dragging the skin on the roller. Ideally, this would be done with, now hear me well on this, skin to skin. It doesn't mean you have to be naked. It just means that you would be maybe in shorts, Or you pull your tights up and you'd have shorter tights. But what you do in your narcissistic world, no, I'm just kidding. What you do is what you do. It's all good. Good. Pause and just do one leg. So the reason to do one leg or one side or whatever is just so you can tell the difference. One leg is probably going to have more gunk or whatever, move different, mobilize different, feel different. You like it different. It's like children. One's, this day I like this one better. That day I like that one better. If you only have one child, oh, God help them. And then if you have no children, you gotta give all that love to somebody else. And enough of your love. And then do the other leg. Good. And then go ahead and pause. All right. So there's multiple ways to do this. You can come from the back side or go from the front side. So it's probably easier to put some weight into the roller and bring yourself up onto it rather than pulling the roller underneath you into kind of no man's land. So on this one, your hands are going to be out in front of you and you're going to roll back and forth on the roller. Now the key is to be light in the hands and try to actually use your core to push back and pull under. Push back and pull under. One more time, push back and pull under. And so you're getting to these sits bones. You're getting to the base of the pelvis here. Right there is where you're actually getting to. Okay? And I'm going to move a little bit. You're going to pause. And then you're going to let yourself go wider with your arms. And then so I'm kind of at the base of my sacrum at that tailbone triangle. And then I'm going up to the top of my pelvis. I'm letting my elbows bend and I'm staying in kind of a hammock. I'm not trying to stiff arm myself and get out from underneath. And I'm not putting all the weight in my arms. Notice my elbows are slightly bending. And I want to actually pull back. But I'm still trying to be light on my hands and my feet. So I'm not just using my arms and legs to pull me, but I'm actually using my core to press me. Couple more. And then pause. Tip your weight to one side, pick a side, and then just do one side. I've got my feet relatively close, but if you need your feet further apart to do this, that's fine as well. I'll turn towards the camera for the next side. And then turn to the next side. Just tip over. I'm just going to turn just kind of towards the camera a little bit, or the other camera, and you're just on the other side. Good. And then you're just going to pause. Bring yourself upright. Sit nice and tall. If you can, bow your knees out and then just slide down. Good. So in this kind of position, this isn't necessarily the best position to only be in. You want to have space. Think of your body as owning space. When you pull a muscle ligament tight by opening it up, you're actually flattening it out. Think of if you took a vein that was full, if I had an imaginary vein that was this big, and I stretched, I'm going to flatten it out a little bit, and it's going to put it on stress, which it's difficult to do that for a long period of time. So give yourself some space, and then come folding in, gently come in to the stretch. And this is really for your lower back and your hips. And then when your lower back softens, your upper back will soften too. Good. Bring yourself up. Slide one foot in of your choosing. Other knee comes up. And then rotate toward that leg like you're turning into that leg. Again, I'm not holding on hard. I've just turned. I'm just putting my hand here. A lot of times I see this and then a lot of this. There's no reason for that, okay? It's like sometimes people overhug you and they give you a really tight hug. Every now and again, that's okay. But they just need to settle down, okay? So you don't need to give a gigantic, this hardest hug, unless maybe, they've been gone on an island for lost at sea, and then you want to really embrace your family, but you've been around yourself. You don't need to overdo it. And then switch. And then again, just rotate. So again, I'm not using my arms to pull me. I'm just putting my hands in a position where I can encourage the rotation. And then rotate back to center. Good. Go ahead and sit in a comfortable situation, seated position. If this isn't comfortable for you, sit someplace that's comfortable. If you want to sit back in a regular chair, that's totally fine with me. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to do a little breathing exercise. So what I want you to do is breathe in deep through your nose, and then you're going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As quickly as you can while you're exhaling. And you're going to keep counting to 10. And as you do that, you're going to exhale, and then you'll get to the bottom of it, and then you'll see what happens. Okay, so you're just going to take a nice deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And your body just lets you take a breath. So I want you to let yourself take a breath. So do it again, and actually do it out loud, kind of like I do it. It's going to sound weird here because everybody's going to be counting, but it's not weird. And then you're going to be counting. And again, I'm whispering out. Could you guys hear me counting?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So it's not loud because you don't want to expel. It's just enough. Okay, but you do want to actually count it or loud. You can say something instead, but it's better. Counting is easier because you don't have to think of a word to say, and get caught up in it and get, make yourself nervous and all that kind of stuff. So there's no performance on this. It's just counting. Okay, so again, inhale nice and deep. Feel the belly, feel the rib cage, feel the back, and then exhale. Did you see what happened there? Your body actually was allowed to take a breath. And so you didn't program the breath. You didn't say, I'm going to take a breath now. Your body actually at the end, if you exhaled it all out, your body will actually naturally just let breath in. And I want you to park on that word, that your body let you take a breath instead of you control the breath in and you control the breath out. When we can start learning to let our body breathe, let our body rest, let our body receive wellness, we can start understanding and listening on a whole different type of a level. So I want to encourage you to let yourself do different and give yourself that opportunity to feel better, to move better, and to live better. So we are done today.